Evening. So glad to be here, and I am so happy that you are joining us either through the live stream right now or soon to join us. Not a lot joining us right now, or in the replay. Really do appreciate you guys always tuning in. It really means a lot to me that people take the time to watch these live streams. Well, this week, as you know, I've been kind of doing a maintenance of my equipment. I've been kind of preaching that here lately about instead of buying something new, maybe investing that money and time into servicing the stuff that you have, just to make sure that it's all good and that's not something that you have to be concerned about down the line. And one of the things that I did was, as you know, I took my amp, my Laney amp, and I put that in the shop and had the plug changed from a British plug to a Euro plug, and also had it serviced, had everything cleaned out and basically the once over, and was told that it is a fantastically built amp by a guy who knows what he's talking about. So happy to hear that. Not a major expense on that. I think that cost me $60. And the next thing that I did was I took my Epiphone, my Les Paul 59, and I turned it over to Fern, and I had him construct me a bone nut for that guitar. And I'll talk about that here for a little bit. There's a lot of controversy out there regarding bone nuts. Good evening, Ben. Hope you're well, sir. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. Good to see you, sir. Hope you've been in good health. Um, hey, Mickey. Good to see you and Ben. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Yeah, guys, I took my Epiphone 59 in to Fern and had him cut me a bone nut for it. And this is actually the first guitar that I've ever had that had a bone nut. And I thought to myself, well, what a better candidate for this than that Les Paul 59, since I've done just about everything else under the sun to it. That thing is really no longer stock. It's gotten to the point where Fern says, Mike, I don't think there's much more we can do to this. I said, oh, but you've forgotten the bridge. That's next. But anyway, yeah, he cut me a bone nut. And there's a lot of, I fit and cut bone nuts on all my guitars, even my Squire Strat. Yeah, Mickey, and pipe in here if I'm incorrect with these next statements regarding bone nuts. But there's a lot of controversy, as I said, out there regarding, is a nylon nut, which, by the way, were the original materials on that Gibson used from roughly the 52s through the 59s. And then from the 1960s, they switched from nylon to plastic. But so there never was bone. Although in the high end custom shop stuff, those are bone nuts. But bone nuts are something that are purported to do a couple of things for your guitar. The first thing that it does is it helps with your intonation. And that is the reason why I had it done. Now, when you receive these guitars from Gibson, from Epiphone, wherever, from any quality company, they're going to cut that nut to whatever standard strings it is that they generally put on there. Generally, it's 10s these days. I remember a time when it used to be 9s, but generally these days it's 10s coming out the factory on these guitars. And the nut is cut to basically to 10s. Now, there's nothing wrong. You can put 11s, 12s, but you'll have to make adjustments in your nuts if you want. It sounded weird. Strike that last statement. You got to make an adjustment in the nut on your guitar. Sorry, guys. This conversation is going to be full of that. But yeah, you have to make those adjustments if you change your strings. And I use a particular, like I said, I get my strings from a company in the UK that custom make my strings, and it's a kind of a weird nine set where it starts out like a regular nine, but it gets a little heavy. And a lot of modern nuts, such as graphite nut, do have consistency over bone, but I prefer the string. Yeah, I was going to get to that. Thank you for reminding me of that. But yeah, basically just cutting through all of it. The intonation really comes through, a good intonation comes through cutting that nut to whatever strings it is you use. And I was able to do that with Fern. When he cut the bone nut, he set it to my custom strings. And that's a great thing. The other thing was I was actually having problem with my nut with the G string because of that. A little bit of intonation and fret buzz that I was having, and that's the second thing that a bone nut can do for you is it can really cut down on sometimes, not all the times, but fret buzz. And the third thing that, and here's where it gets into that Twilight Zone territory that we guitarists like to get into, the is it true or is it not true? And Mickey, you can please chime in here as to what you think. Obviously, I think I know the answer. But bone nuts are said to increase the sustain of your guitar. Now, this makes sense to me because the harder the material that you're working with, the more vibrations that it's going to allow to pass through. Uh, Obviously, bone trumps plastic when it comes to that. The graphite nuts are very similar to bone. There's pluses and minuses with both. Bone nuts can crack on you because it's bone. Graphite nuts, like in the situation with mine, can cause intonation issues if they're not cut correctly. It's the same with both of them, actually. So, but there's some people out there that says, I have a plastic nut on my guitars, or I've had a graphic nut, or nylon, or a bone, and I can't see any sustain. And to me, now that I've had it for a few days, just sitting there strumming with it, you got to cut that bias out of your head. It's tough because you're listening for more sustain, and that does it really actually occur or not comes into the kind of the psychology of it. And so I really had to just play it a bit and ask myself, do I notice any improvements having this bone nut put in? Which, by the way, wasn't expensive. I had it done for $60, and he did it in a relatively short time. He's an expert luthier, and he's I slightly cut the D and G string at better angles tuning. Yeah. There you go. And I think that's true whether you use graphite or whether you use bone. That D and G is your problem areas on Les Pauls, regardless of if it's Epiphone or Gibson USA or Custom Shop. That's just a known fact. And so yeah, my G string was giving me problems, and so having this bone nut cut improved that. The sustain thing. Guys, I got to be honest with you. This was a really, if you're familiar with that Epiphone 59, I think because of the construction, the long neck tenon, and it just, mine is a two-piece back with a two-piece top. I have seen some recently on the Epiphone chat forums where a guy stripped off the top of his, stripped it down, and he literally had a five-piece maple top. It was 5 pieces. So in my case, with my 59, you can distinctly see, and that's confirmed by having also Fern look at it, it's two match, well, pretty well book match pieces, tops, as far as the maple tops is concerned. The back is two-piece mahogany. But you can find multi-piece ones, just throwing that out there. But my Les Paul 59 has received a bone nut The sustain thing was something that it had going for it anyway. I think because of the fact of its construction, those two-piece maple top and two-piece back, that long neck tenon. I think it was a really great sustaining guitar, which is the reason why I love it so much. The bone nut, like I said, did help with the intonation. It helped with the buzzing G string, and the sustain. It was already there. It's great. So, but it's not necessary. I guess at the end of the day, I would say that if your nut is working for you and not having any issues, absolutely don't do anything about changing it. Keep it the way it is. Keep your guitar the way it is. However, if you are having the problems that I mentioned, then you might want to consider going and having a bone nut cut for you. Stewie Mac sells them already pre-cut. I don't know about that. You would still have to make some cuts, and the tools that you would need you might not have on hand. So better to have a luthier do it. $60 tops. 80 on a bad day, but it shouldn't cost you that much. And I'm glad I did it. And to be frank with you, it made the guitar, in terms of its feel. Well, when I have the neck now, it feels more. It really just took the guitar up a notch to it being just a great instrument. I would put it up against all the Les Pauls that I've owned, Gibsons and Epiphones. It beats them all. It's my number one favorite. All right, this week's show, I covered the Roswell pickup. 90% of tuning problems come from standard factory nuts, and my personal experience. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like I said, they're cutting them usually these days to 10s in the factory, and believe me, they're not taking their time like Fern did cutting my nut. Even though, as I said, it didn't take him a lot of time because he's done hundreds and hundreds of them, of those procedures. Making bone nuts. Really, the great part is he specifically takes measurements and he makes it for your instrument. So it makes the instrument feel a lot, anyway, just a great feel. So the Roswell pickup, did you guys see that? Where I took the Roswell pickup and took it apart this week. That was a really interesting one. If you haven't seen it, I took the Roswell pickups out of my double cut custom from Harley Benton. As you know, they used to come with Wilkerson pickups, and then another one I can't think of right now. Maybe you guys can remember. And then they started using these Roswell pickups. Now, Roswell, as a company, the parent company, has been around for 30 years. I saw it. Interesting stuff. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate that. They've been around for 30 years or so. And Roswell, as a subdivision, has been doing it for at least a decade or so. So I was really shocked when I opened up that Roswell pickup and saw that paraffin wax job that was done on that. That was the worst wax job. You guys, if you haven't seen it, you really got to go back and take a look at that program I did opening that pickup up. Very illuminating to me. I really wondered, the thing that I didn't like about that pickup is the complaint that most people make about wax pickups, that it doesn't let all the frequencies ring through and it has a dulling effect, especially in your high end. And that's exactly how I felt about those pickups. From the minute I plugged that guitar in, it had a roar to it, and you'll see people playing that guitar stock from Tomon, the Harley Benton double cut, and it sounds great. I've heard guys play it. It sounds good stock. In person, though, and I don't know, again, maybe it was just these pickups. Maybe it was just a bad day at the factory. I had Roswell pickups in my Harley Benton. They're really they really let a great guitar down badly. Yeah, that double cut custom that I have, as I've told you guys for a while now, almost a year now, that thing has good bones. It needed a rewire with Lollers, did that, check. It needed new pickups, check, I did that. And tuners were just which whether one the ones that they had were Goto tuners, so it was good. I switched mine out for Gibson tuners, but it had good bones to it. But those Roswell pickups, man, they were just it was a blanket. You hear those statements when people are talking about pickups like quack and overtones, undertones, and blanket. Sound like or muddy was another way of saying that, like a blanket over my over my pickups. And that's how those pickups sounded to me. There was just something, I don't know if it's my ears. And again, pickups are subjective. I said that in the program that I filmed. I said, well, Seymour Duncan, when he's winding a pickup, he has a sound in his head that he's winding that too. Now, you as a consumer may say, hey, I love that sound, and you may jive with it. Or you may say to yourself, wow, that is the worst sounding expensive pickup ever. And this is true of the cheap ones as well, the inexpensive ones. You can say, hey, one person's, crappy Roswell is another one's great Roswell. It really comes down to your ears, to my ears, and obviously a few other people here. They were doing those guitars a disservice. Now, Epiphone pickups have come a long way. I really love those Nico Classic Pros. As a matter of fact, I was doing a little research on those and found out that those are Alnico 5 magnets in the Epiphone Alnico Classic Pros. I think that is one of the reasons why I really dig those pickups. I'm kind of an Alnico 3 and an Alnico 5 kind of guy. I've learned that over time by just trying different things. And the 61T and the 61R that I had in my Les Paul 60s Gibson before the Epiphone, that had 61R and 61T in it. And those pickups are also Alnico 5 magnets in it. I kind of like the growl. There's another term, growl. You guys know what I mean. It's just it's a meatiness to it. It's a girth to the tone. It's just you'll hear it. You hear that in that demo I did of this pedal right here, the 7 series overdrive. It has a growl to it. But those Alnico 5 magnets really shine through. So the Roswell pickups magnets are Alnico 2, and that may have played a part in it too. Alnico 2 magnets have never been my cup of tea, though there's a lot of pickups out there based on Alnico 2 magnets. Classic 57s, which for some reason out there on the internet, when you look at the Alnico Classic Alnico Classics, was it Pro? Yeah, Pros. You'll see that it said that they are modeled after the Classic 57 Classics, but that is not true. The 57 Classics have Alnico 2 magnets in it. I had those, came with my Les Paul, Gibson Les Paul that I bought in Japan. That had 57 Classics in it. Alnico 2 magnets, I took those right out and replaced them actually with some vintage, was there Seymour Duncans? Yeah, some vintage Duncans. And it's really a matter of preference. So maybe that played a part in it, is what I'm trying to say, that they were Alnico 2 magnets as well. But just a terrible construction. The bobbins weren't even. They were actually at a slant to each other, so they weren't level to a plane. The wax was completely covering the pole pieces, which again contribute to, I think, the muffled sound of them. So yeah, it was just a mess. So check it out, guys, if you have a minute to go back and take a look at that video. Yeah, they got a long way to go. I think it took Epiphone a long time to get to the point where they were making great pickups like they are now. I think the current line, as I said, the Alnico Classic Pros, the Pro Buckers, I think that they have really upped their game. And I think that maybe in another 10 years, Roswell will be at that level. but it's going to take time. They're not there yet. And in terms of mass produced pickups, those are pretty poor. All right, today's main subject. I think their Harley Benton's are made to be modded, or they don't use it to keep the price down. Oh yeah, it's definitely a cost issue. Look again, and that taking that Roswell pickup apart, it clearly demonstrates that, because that was a budget pickup of budget pickups. I'm telling you guys, I used to order custom pickups from a guy, a custom winder in China, through AliExpress. Contact him. I'd say, look, I want this. What, that's why I tried 3, 5. I had a bunch because they were cheap. They were $20 each. I could have a set made for 40. So I have a 2 set, Annika 3 set, Annika 5 set. That's how I trade them out, swap them out my guitar, and decide which one did I like. And they were way better constructed than these mass-produced Roswells. It's shameful. Actually, honestly, God honest, it is the worst job I've seen done on constructing a pickup. So they got some time to go on those. The main subject this week is reverb is too expensive. Guys, I have a reverb shop that I used to, if I had pedals, I was a lot more active on it last year more than I've been recently. I still have a few items up. Some of these pedals up here are actually up on that for sale in the shop. But I had a BMF fuzz pedal that's sold this week. First sale I've had in a while. It's about a $50 pedal. Shipping on it's $30, so I had it listing. Shipping, depending upon tracking from here and it was going to the States, it'll cost you, with all the insurance and everything, about $25 to $30. That's just the reality. It's not cheap, and even on a light pedal, actually, in the case of this pedal, it was about $20. So there was a little bit saving, but I have to give myself a little bit of padding there. So usually I charge, this one was $25, so $5 padding I had there. And so the overall cost that I was, at 55 and then 25, $80. And somebody bought it. Oh, sweet, wonderful. Sold another pedal. I can make room for that, and I can kick back and put that money into my guitar fund. And which I'm steadily adding to here. And on this $80 pedal that I sold on Reverb, they took a 12.5% commission on it, which left me somewhere in the neighborhood of about $68 or so on the deal. Somewhere around 55 for about 25 for that, something like that. They also, when they take their commissions from whatever you listed at, and that's including your shipping. So no real savings there. Actually, the 5 that I saved, I got eaten up when they took their commission out. And I thought to myself, well, great. That's a little chunk of change you took there on an $80 pedal. I would be 12.5%. Hell, I should get an agent. It's 15% on it is an agent's fee. So they're getting up there into agent's fee territory. And I just shudder to think if I was selling something for $1,000, 12.5% of that. It's a $125 hit for every $1,000. So something to think about when you're selling something. You're really with Reverb, they're getting to the point. And here's the weird thing: the timing of inflation and things. I understand that, but your avenues of selling things, your platforms of selling things. Although I hear that Sweetwater, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. By the way, I've got 2 likes and 6 viewers. Hit those likes, guys. Appreciate it. Sweetwater is doing something like an online shop where you can sell your used gear, and they kind of check it. There's something going on there, and their fee is almost non-existent. I guess if you're a Sweetwater member, so there may be something there, but that's not really developed yet. So you're really still stuck with eBay, number two, and number one being Reverb. But at 12.5% take on that, like I said, if I was selling something serious, which I thought I was, I'll get into that in a minute. I was having second thoughts. As you know, I had those vintage greenbacks that have been sitting in LA for the last 3 years. Finally, my brother was able to retrieve them from the house in LA and bring them back with him so he could prepare to do. Hey, Anthony, thank you, sir, for joining us. Good to see you. So I had those vintage greenbacks finally, and I had my brother take pictures of them because I was preparing to put them on Reverb. And when I sold that pedal and saw how much they took out, again, like I said, I was having second thoughts because you're looking at a $60 hit if I were to put those up for $500, which was what my initial plan was for a pair of vintage greenbacks. I was going to put them up for 500. And like I said, I was looking at losing about 65, 70 bucks on that deal to Reverb. And that wasn't very appealing to me. Because that's a pretty serious bite, in my opinion. If you took it down to a pawn shop, there's very little difference in which maybe that's not true. But it's starting to feel like that. It's starting to feel like that. And your avenues to sell your equipment at a time when, as I've been saying, you're seeing this, an avalanche of stuff is starting to hit up. That tsunami of that. What did I call it? The avalanche, the snowball effect I've been talking about of used gear is starting to hit the market. A lot of stuff is coming up. My blues breaker here, Mark One. I'd say about 8 months ago, 7, 8 months ago, when I was seriously looking at it, there was maybe 5 of them up for sale on Reverb, and they were going for about $750. I think at that time was the peak price. Now there's about 25 of them. And the average sales price, the average asking price is $600. The average sale price is $500. So again, you've got all this stuff coming in, and it's driven down the price even on these blues breakers. I'm not in the market to sell mine. It's one of those pedals that you never let go. It's a forever keeper because it does something unique, as advertised. It does its trick, as I like to say. But yeah, dig that. Big hit if I were to put those speakers up. Now, I'll tell you guys, one heartbreaking thing that I just found out before I went on air here. I speak every night to my brother. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? See how we're doing with each other. And I said, you know what, man? With those pictures of those speakers, the greenbacks that you sent me, could you look on the back and take a picture on the cone and tell me the stamp? There should be white stamps on the inside so that I can read what's the serial number on the cone. If it starts with a T, that's golden. If it doesn't, look it up. In the case of greenbacks, because those are those roller cones, those pre-roller and roller cones. The issue is that with a lot of these greenbacks, they've either been reconed with Mueller cones, which are considered in the hierarchy. The Pulsonic cones that's what you're seeking. The Mueller cones, which were recones that were done in the late 70s, mid 70s, 77. Those are considered to be okay, but not, like the Pulsonic cones. And then you have the W101009 cones. made by a company called Walden or something like that. Yeah, we'll just say Walden for now. And the Walden company was it was a kit company for reconing. It was the Roswell of reconing kits back in the day in the 80s, 90s. And these are considered to be the worst cones to put into your vintage greenbacks if you want to do a recone. They are considered to be the ones that absolutely completely devalue and take all the vintage worth away from your greenbacks. I just realized that I'm missing a light here. Oh, now I can see myself. I was wondering, why is it so dark in here? So these W1009 cones, if you guys have a greenback and you see that, then you know what I'm talking about, are the ones you don't want because they're from the Walden Company. So I said to my brother, dear brother, could you perhaps send me a picture of the back of those greenbacks so I could look at the serial number just to remember what they were? And he sent me a picture, and son of a biscuit, W1009. Those two had been reconed, and then it came back to me. It's been 3 years. Two of the speakers that I bought from Greg were reconed. Two of them had their original Posonic cones. One of them, and I told you the story of how TSA put their hands through one of those original cones. Completely pissed me off. That's the one that actually, fortunately, I was able to have repaired. These two that I was going to put up for sale turned out to be the absolutely worst recone that you can do. It completely devalued them down to the point, and I guess this is a teachable moment because we can talk about getting aside from Reverb and their crazy prices. We'll put that aside for a moment. But in terms of vintage stuff, it really is about all that sucks. Yeah, that does suck, man. It really does suck. Beautiful job. Really well done. They're beautiful speakers, but it's vintage stuff. It's got to have all of it. It's got to have all its parts in it. It's got to be it. Like my Echoplex here, 100% to the letter, to the bone original. Absolutely, even the cartridge has just been resurfaced. It's still the same original cartridge, casing and everything. It's just been respooled. That makes a big difference. And now, when I was looking at $250 per speaker, now I'm looking at best $100 per speaker, and and that may be enough to interest some people into just saying, well, they still are, older, Celestian greenbacks. A lot of people are taking those, when they do recone them, they're actually putting in EVH cones in them, EV cones. That's supposed to have a killer sound to it. So yeah, real bummer there. That's a $300 hit, maybe more. If I put them up for $200, I'll probably take the first $180 I get offered for the pair. But yeah, that's a teachable moment about vintage. If you guys buy vintage stuff, I only needed one to be, as I've told you before, and the one that got its hand put through, they were able to salvage that cone, so that one still has its original cone, although it's a repair, but still good enough for me. But the one that I have in my Laney, it's really all I need. And it's got its original Posonic cone in it. So I can't really cry over that too much. But yeah, I took a $300 hit on that one. And that really sucks. When I saw W doing 1009, my heart just sank. Because that's just, it's funny, I didn't look at that, or maybe I did look at it and I just didn't think about it 3 years ago. Like I said, I had a buttload of other gear that I was buying. It was I at that time, kind of a spree I was doing in LA when I was there the last time. Shopping spree. But yeah, $300 hit on that one. However, if somebody does buy them, they will have the original set of Celestion Greenback speakers. They'll have to recone them probably with something better. So they'll get something good out of it. But I'm not going to get 500. Like I said, 180 to 3. And that's a teachable moment. Like I said, you learn your lesson about buying vintage stuff. Make sure it's all original. But yeah, Reverb, and that makes it even worse. I didn't even think about this. I was just talking about it with you guys. So I put it up for 200 on Reverb. I'm hit with 12.5%. Man, the hits just keep coming on these freaking greenbacks. Yeah, if I put up for 200, take my first 180, and then I can subtract an additional 12.5% off of that. Dig that. Dig that, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, not good. Not good at all. And so, yeah, well, I just depressed myself more. I hadn't thought that one totally through. Yeah, but it's cool though. Like I said, half of them were bad, the other half were good, and the good ones I'm keeping. So, it's a mixed bag with that one. And if I get, I think, even though it was a gold coin, that coin that I traded grade with for those was worth about 400 at the time. I'll give 150 back on that one. It's looking like now or less. But I have 2 vintage complete greenbacks. If I ever do that 2x12, then I'm set for that. But I'm definitely set as far as greenbacks are concerned anyway. I didn't even thought that through. I'm gonna take a hit. So yeah, Reverb sucks. Absolutely sucks. And you can go to eBay with it, but eBay really, with Alibaba and a lot of those companies that started putting in their counterfeit products, has, you hear terms like Scam Bay, they call it, and Pirate Bay, because, this one guy was talking about, yeah, I bought a set of Epiphone pickups off of eBay for, and everybody was like, dude, they don't sell those outside of you can't buy Epiphone pickups anywhere. And if somebody sold those to you, trust me, those are, counterfeits. And sure enough, that's what they were. And that's eBay. It's full of counterfeits. And if you don't do your research and you don't know that, then yeah, you can find yourself, getting anything. And I can't, going back to the greenback thing, another thing that just occurred to me is I have to list them as being W1009 cones. It would be unethical for me to try to pass them off as anything but. So, yeah, it just gets better and better. It's like you step in a ring with Tyson. With this one. Man, this one sucks. But yeah, Reverb at 12.5% is just a kicker. And you got the tsunami of used gear coming on and driving down the prices. So as you see, as a real life example, in my case, it's going to take a hit on my bottom end when I try to sell things there, and everybody else as well. That so much so that you really have to think about it. Again, maybe 7 months ago, if I was thinking about selling my Blues Breaker, I could have gotten top dollar for it. But now that there's 25, that's when there was 5, 6, 7 of them available. Now there's 25. No way. It's a buyer's market. It's a buyer's market, but it's not a seller's market because you're taking a hit on the commission. You're taking a hit because the prices are the cascade, that snowball of stuff is coming in to the market and it's driving down your price because you got, you got 30, 40, 50 guys with made in Mexico Squires and they're all asking $550. And guess what? And if you make any mods on it, you can say, hey, I put Duncan pickups in this. I did this. I did. Hey, guess what? Doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, it may make people pass on you because they don't like Duncan pickups, even though you do. So there's a lot of ands, ifs, and buts in that equation. So you got this tsunami of stuff coming in, and you're taking this hit. So that's why I say it's a buyer's market. If you're a seller, yeah, it's not good. It's not a good feeling, as Mike soon discovered when he tried to sell his greenbacks. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, man, dig that. So it's a buyer's market, and then as I've been saying, if you have cash, then you're primo. Like I said, do the maintenance on your gear. I've been doing that. I've been practicing as I've been preaching. So as you see, as I've been discussing, I've been doing that. But also at the same time, save up your cash because you're going to get some good deals. Because that scenario is only going to get worse. 25 blues breakers. There's a finite amount of those. I'll agree. You're not going to get to hundreds of them because there's not that many in that kind of condition left in the market. So there's a finite amount of blues breakers, but Squires, Epiphone guitars of some makes, most makes, unless it's signatures or that 59 or some of the top stuff they've been coming out with lately. As like that SG that I had that had to go. The market is going to get saturated on those because there's a lot of them out there. I've been offered some pretty good deals over the last 2 weeks. It's starting for sure. Yeah, man. Like I said, and if you got cash, and the retailers are going to do that as well. You're going to see that with the retailers. They are going to really start discounting, especially going into the holiday season. You guys have Memorial Day happening right now there in the States. Every Guitar Center and Sweetwater Memorial Day sale in the world is hitting your inbox right now. Hell, I'm over here in Europe and I'm getting them in my inbox. Yeah, and so you have to contend with that. Those we're not going to call them what we should label them, but those gentlemen who have been putting those OCD pedals up and marking them up to $250 when they could be had brand new in the stores for $185. I checked that. That's a fact. Those guys are delusional because the market just doesn't support that. Again, like I said, the map is the price. The location value is your location. So you gotta find that value on that map of price. And as I've been talking about, and it's played out, we can see it. I wasn't BSing you guys. I wouldn't do that to you. I really sit here and try to give you the creme de la creme of the nonsense that runs through my brain. That you're going to see this kind of issues in the market when it comes to used gear. And if you have cash, you're going to be in a great. I would hold back, which leads to my next subject that I'm actually looking at a guitar right now. I'm looking at an FGN. They are guitars that are made in Fujigen, in Japan. These are handmade guitars. These are their custom shop, their master built quality guitars that are built in Japan using the best materials. These have not Brazilian rosewood, but pretty high quality rosewood fretboards, mahogany, the top end, all that. They're not cheap. They're about $2,000, but I'm looking at one of those and I'm waiting. I'm actually considering that guitar as to be the replacement. I have two eyeballing full tone octave fuzz, another just my octave fuzz pedals. Well, yeah, that BMF fuzz pedal that I just sold, that I was talking about, that started this conversation, is a great fuzz pedal. It's a mini fuzz pedal too, and not expensive. I had it and I loved it. It's just this Series 7 overdrive that I have. Like I said, it's the fuzz that I've been looking for because it's not it's fuzz. It's a tone with a fuzz component to it, and that's what I like. But for fuzz, yeah, I'd look at that BMF mini pedal, and it won't set you back that much either. I had it. I played it. I believe I might have demoed it here on the channel, and I just sold it to a young lady named Erin in Pennsylvania. So I hope she enjoys it when she gets it. So yeah, I can highly recommend that fuzz. But yeah, guys, we're just seeing that out there. So hold on to your cash. I'm waiting to see if this FGN guitar goes down. If I'm a cash buyer on that, it would be the most expensive guitar that I've bought in a couple of years. Since the last last one that I bought was a Gibson, my Les Paul, standard 60s, but it's costly. But if I can get it for under $2,000, I would go for it, because again, these FGN guitars they're master made, they're master built guitars. They are constructed the way that Gibson was made. It's a 355 copy, hollow body, semi-hollow body, semi-acoustic hollow body, semi-acoustic electric, based on a 355. So it's a little slimmer, it's a little smaller than a 335, but beautiful. Oh God. Al Nickel 3 pickups come stock, so that's good for me. I like Al Nickel 3. The Japanese love Al Nickel 3 magnets. All of their top wines are based on Al Nickel 3 magnets. Dig that or not? That's a fact, actually. Yeah. This guy. Let's move on to the next topic. Little lighter topic. This last night, guys, I was watching, don't laugh at me, but I like to watch comedies on Saturday nights. It's kind of my thing. I like to just sit back, relax, and watch comedies all sorts, ranging, from back in the 40s, all the way coming forward. Like I've told you that I like the 7-Year Itch. That's actually a comedy from the 50s. All the way up to something ridiculous. I was watching Dude, Where's My Car? The Ashton Kutcher and what was it, Sean Scott Williams movie from, I think it was 2000. Dude, Where's My Car? Haven't seen that movie in a long time. And dude, sweet. What does your tattoo say? Dude, what does mine say? Sweet, what does mine say? So yeah, I was watching that movie last night because, it's not for everybody. Sweet. Every time you guys say dude, I'm going to say sweet. Love that movie. Really just a lot of classic lines like, Zoltan. Love that movie. But I was watching it and I began to get a little depressed. And you say, what? Well, you're watching a stoner comedy in Amsterdam. How could you possibly be depressed? Well, I was watching it, and it occurred to me as I was listening to the soundtrack. Now, this is 2000, guys. The majority of the soundtrack of that movie was guitar-oriented. It was music of that era. I think, like Smash Mouth, is that from that era? That, Green Day, that kind of stuff, that vibe of music. Weezer, that kind of tone to it. And it depressed me because I began to think about soundtracks of most modern TV shows and movies today. And most of that, if you guys haven't noticed, is rap music or rap beats or quasi-rap arrangements. And as I call them, rap-ish arrangements. And recently, I don't like, as you guys know, I'm not a big fan of any rap past the year 2000. That's my cutoff point. And I know a lot of you say, hey, but The Chronic came out in 2001. Yeah, okay, maybe I'll go 2001. So my cutoff point is 2001. Anything after that, I stopped listening to. I don't, because I never listened to a lot of rap music anyway. But the prevalence of it in modern soundtracks and modern TV shows, especially the stuff on Netflix, oh man, it's like, oh, I just turn down the sound sometimes because I don't want to hear it. But that switch in the industry from 20 years ago to the strong guitar orientated music to now, and even if they did have, R&B music, it was in the George Clinton, if you guys know, Parliament Funkadelic kind of rehash. I'm completely with you. Nothing past, 2000. And the R&B music of that period, anything after Sugar Hill Gang is my cutoff. That's 79. Okay, all right. Well, I can dig that too. You know, with rap music, there was a period there when I was in college that I'll call the golden age. And that's because you had groups like De La Soul and rap music of that had a strongly positive message, not just for African Americans, but for everybody, regardless of your background or whatever. That it has a message that was universal for everybody. Beastie Boys, that was for everybody. Everybody loved the Beastie Boys, everybody, But again, that around 2000, 2001, that change happened. That change occurred, and I kind of blame the Chronic a little bit for that. Records, De La Soul, brings back great memories. Yeah, good stuff, beautiful stuff. A beautiful arrangement, and the fact that they could use samples and the creativity of the guys of that era, what they were doing was truly creative because they were taking snippets of sounds and things like that, and they were doing something with them to create brand new arrangements. And the Beastie Boys, of course, being on the I'm going to give you guys Pac and Biggie and those guys. I'll give you that because, as a matter of fact, I've been listening to both of those guys recently because I've been thinking about them because I was in L.A. when Biggie got shot. I remember that whole evening and all that what was going down at that time and and especially with us in the music circles, we were all aghast. But I'll give you those guys, but those are exceptions to the rule. Mostly for me, I just stopped listening. And but that change is dictated by record companies. Those are the tastemakers, like it or not. And lately, this recent She-Hulk, have any of you guys been watching that TV show? I've been suffering through it. Only because Daredevil, TV show they had on Netflix was one of my favorite superhero shows. I loved it. And he's supposed to be in the She-Hulk thing. And in this last episode, I just said, I can't watch it. Daredevil be damned. I can't watch this anymore. Because they had, She-Hulk twerking with, this Megan Thee Stallion girl. And it was too much for me. I just said, really... if this is what rap has become, then it's really gone a long way from the days of the groups that we talked about to where it is now. It's just this complete thing, and I don't understand the prevalence of it in modern movies and soundtracks and TV, as I said, other than the fact that it's being pushed by the record companies. And it's being consumed, and it's very cheap to produce. It's a lot cheaper to produce a rap album now, actually, than it was back in the days of Beastie Boys, because they had to pay the sampling, the royalties on all the samples that they paid. So those were expensive albums to make that you can't even do nowadays. So the record company, bottom line, it's a lot cheaper to produce these records, and you guys know all the things that come from that. So that's the conclusion that I've come to. But it depressed me a little bit watching that movie and listening to the great diversity of music that was on that soundtrack. They were covering a lot of great stuff, and musically interesting things. And this is just a cheap comedy from the 2000. And the world was a different place then too. She-Hulk is absolutely awful. Oh my God. I don't even want to get into that on guys. That is really the worst writing that I have ever seen on. There's a network TV guy on YouTube. He's actually an executive. He's been behind a lot of hit shows. And I watched that last episode of She-Hulk, and then I immediately turned on because I knew he had reviewed it. And this man, who is a professional, a seasoned professional in the industry in Hollywood, who's done a lot of sitcoms, said in regards to the writers of She-Hulk, fuck them. Excuse my language. That's what he said. F them. I'm not watching this anymore. I'm not reviewing this anymore. Guardians of the Galaxy soundtracks. Yeah, there's another thing. With these some of these soundtracks, when you have directors, in that case, that soundtrack was because of the taste of the director. That was him saying, hey, it's just like Quentin Tarantino, another director that really takes a hands-on approach to soundtracks. So you have his personal, or he or she's personal taste in those soundtracks. And those are the ones that are most successful too, by the way, if you notice. Not the ones where the record label saying, hey, we're pushing this artist, can we get a slot in your movie, we'll give you X amount, or we'll do this down the line, and all that back stuff that happens where we have these crappy songs going on these soundtracks these days. But it was just something that bothered me. It was something that really just stuck in my head because holy crap. What a difference 20 years has made. Now, will it change? Will it take 20 years to change from that? I'm sure. In 20 years, it'll be something else. I just hope that at least it takes a swing back towards more instrumental music, not just beats. I'm not look, I've programmed a lot of beats for a lot of clients. I had a commercial where it was a beat that they sent me, and I had to do that. I've done a lot of beats per se for clients. It's not something that I like doing, but it's something that I can do. But if that was all that I did, I would feel musically I'd feel like my hands were cuffed. It's just not satisfying to me. It's interesting for about 5 minutes. But so I hope that change occurs. It's just something that happened to me. It have to be all movie soundtracks should be from the 70s. Yeah, that's my era. That's my bread and butter, as you guys know. Growing up in the 70s, 80s, that had a big influence as to why I'm the type of songwriter I am today. Because again, I had a diversity of music. It wasn't just one genre all the time, God, I'll have to really, bleach my eyes after seeing that twerking with She-Hulk. Oh God, it made me wish I had the Ark of the Covenant so I could open it up and burn my face off because it was just that bad. I was like, oh God, who is this show for? Really, seriously, who is this for? Because I know, women who hate that show. So it's not for women, I'll tell you that much. All right, guys, we have come to the end of another live stream for me. I want to thank you so much for joining in. Next week's show, we are going to talk about acoustic guitars. Here's my Yamaha acoustic guitar. As you know, I've had this guitar for years. I've had this guitar for many years. I want to talk to you guys on the show this week about, do acoustic guitars wear out? Do acoustic guitars wear out? I want to talk about that. I've had this guitar now for 25 years maybe. I've had this guitar for a long time. This is my oldest instrument at this point. I bought this in Shibuya at the Yamaha shop in 97, I think it was, 97, 98. It was just hanging there on the wall. And then I bought this. So I've had it for 25 years, and I want to talk about how its tone has changed in that time, and how, well, I don't want to spoil, but I do want to talk about that. So that's going to be the subject of next week's program. We're going to talk about that. Great show, Mike. Thanks. Yeah, you guys take care. Thanks. Take care, Ben. Thanks for showing up, brother. I really appreciate it. But yeah, we're going to talk about that. So, anything else though? Let's just stay tuned for that. If you guys are watching this live stream and on the rerun, and you like the contents of the show, don't forget to hit the like button. Also, if you haven't subscribed with this channel, take that time to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to grow this channel. Boy, it's getting tough on YouTube these days. YouTube really is feeling the pressure from TikTok. Oh, Mickey, man, thank you, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. God bless for that. I appreciate that. The algorithm of YouTube really wants us creators to do shorts because they're feeling the heat from TikTok. And they of the feeling that a certain demographic below a certain age is not interested in watching YouTube anymore because they don't have the patience to watch 5-10 minute videos. Their intake of information is now whittled down to, what is it, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever TikTok is. I don't know. I've never looked at TikTok in my life because, well, look up where TikTok comes from and you'll see why I don't look at it. Touch it. But they're trying to compete with TikTok, so they're really encouraging us to come up with shorts. And so I'm going to have to do more shorts on this channel. I think the demographic of people that I'm trying to reach are not the ones that are interested in shorts. I'm interested in reaching out. I hope that's nonsense. I love the longer videos. Yeah, see, Ben, I'm reaching out to cats. See, they don't consider this demographic. I don't know how you are exactly, but my demographic on down, they don't consider us really as a viable demographic anymore from a view standpoint. Sure, the younger generation are watching more and spending more time watching TikTok videos, but I remind you that the creators of TikTok videos are making 45. I'm 10 years old, 55 years old, 48. Yeah, our demographic, us guys, they don't consider us, I'm 55. They don't consider us to be of importance for some strange reason, although we are the ones that have the most disposable income. We're the ones that make long-term commitments. When we lock on to something, we commit to it. We're the ones that you want to have as an audience. But for some reason, they want to really try to get into competition with TikTok. And the creators of TikTok, this is how much money they make for creating. TikTok pays zero. There is no remuneration at all for the creators on TikTok. So I don't even know why you would want to get involved in that in the first place. Sure, we're not exactly killing it over here on YouTube. I'm not. But at the same time, at least I'm interacting. There is an audience that I know are my guys, that we talk to each other, we have conversations, we discuss things. We have a real community. That thing on TikTok is it's just not for me. Yeah, we have a little smaller niche channel. Sometimes the smaller channels will get together, like I said, and we all these audiences again, we have conversations, then we go our separate ways. I think that's the bread and butter, and we're also, if you're talking about advertisers, we're the ones that you really want to be putting stuff in front of. There are some YouTube ads that do interest me, actually, some products that I get that I'm like, hey, I'm interested in that. But no, it's all got to be the TikTok thing. So I'll do the YouTube shorts, but these long-term videos, the long form, the 10-minute ones that I do, I've never been to TikTok. Yeah, I don't want to do it, man. It's not for me. And again, like I said, I question where that information that people are putting freely on that platform is going to. Yeah, there's that. So yeah, I have to do more. So you will see more shorts on this channel. You got to play the game. But the truth of the matter is I'm not building a community based on shorts. I'm building a community based on these discussions in the live streams and the programs that I do during the week to talk about things and to discuss things deeply. And you can't do that in 15 seconds. Just can't. So yeah, there's another topic that I didn't mean to get into tonight that just occurred to me. Anyway, let's say good night to everybody. I thank you so much for joining the live stream. Until the next one, everybody have a good week, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.